This is Marshall Talley, EDU 503, William Woods University. I'm doing Gebser versus Lago Vista Independent School District. This case study revolves around Title IX. The case was seeing if the school district was liable. It was a sexual harassment case. It took place in 1991. The person looking for punitive actions or compensation was the family of Lydia Gebser. She was an 8th grader, and the defendant with the school district was Frank Waldrop, was the teacher. He held a books discussion, and Ms. Gebser was in this books discussion, and she stated that he had many sexual comments during the books discussion. Later on, she was in his class that 8th grade year, 2 semesters. They had sexual contact in the spring. He was kissing her, stopping by his house, dropping off books, having a reason to fondle her and touch her. At the late spring, they ended up having sexual intercourse many times, she stated. The only reason she didn't come out, she was scared, and she still wanted him as a teacher. In my opinion, this kind of felt like a Stockholm syndrome, that she didn't want to come out against her accuser. Then, in 1992, 2 students and a couple parents complained about Mr. Waldrop and his comments in class to the principal. The principal calls him in. They have a meeting with him and the parents. He apologizes, states that his comments, he does not feel like they were sexual intent, and will not make those statements again. The principal did not report this to the superintendent, who was the Title IX coordinator at the time. Then, let's go fast forward to 1993. Mr. Waldrop and Gebser are caught in the act of sexual intercourse, so that would, by my math, would make her about a sophomore in high school. He is fired from his teaching job, and subsequently he has his teacher license revoked. So the mother and Gebser, they're trying to sue on the facts of negligence and compensation wanted, plus punitive damages. Their defense is in 1997 there was a policy: school is liable of sexual harassment, therefore they have the authority. It doesn't matter if the higher-ups know or not. Their other thing that they were trying to defend their case was liable on constructive notice, failed to uncover or even search for the truth. So they're stating that the principal knew and didn't search for the truth. This also went under respondit superior. So they wanted the money, but the law in 1972 just allowed capability. Not until 1991 did allow a limited amount / requires the use of informal means. So basically the way I interpreted this was in 1972 there wasn't a cap level of how much money that people could be paid. Granted, these cases, it felt like, didn't get paid out much in money and monetary value. Then it changed in 1991 to put a cap level to certain things. So I'm guessing there's certain laws or certain ways that sexual harassment, type of sexual harassment happen, and those are what dictate how much money a victim would get paid. So the court findings. The court found in favor of the school districts. So the first court rejected that the school was liable under Title IX. They stated that Title IX was only for discrimination and held for sex, race, religion, and sports, and equal opportunities. They also said that there's only one complaint against the teacher, and it was formally brought to the principal. He had a meeting, discussed it, boom, ended it right there. They stated that there was not enough evidence to state that the school or the principal had knowledge of that there was a sexual contact or act going on. Not until 2 years later, in 1993, then was the man busted. This was brought up to the circuit court. They also denied liability. Previous cases, teachers were not held liable with the school district. Along with the last case I talked about with the teacher that was dating her students with them previously, they were also not liable for her actions, and they should have warned her. But just like this, they also stated in the circuit court there was not enough evidence to show a relationship was going on at the time with just the negative comments. This also kind of brings up when they were talking about that people aren't held liable unless someone else higher up knows, is kind of Sandusky and Penn State situation. They said the circuit court says it relies on knowledge gained to prove that the principal knew or the school district knew. There was no knowledge gained, so they were not held liable with Mr. Wildrop. They also stated that if someone were to try to get compensation, that they would first provide notice to institutions that they require to change the situation or correct the habit. Well, they did that by firing the teacher. They also did that. The state did that by revoking his teacher license. So in doing so, the circuit court found him not liable and not overturned. So in saying this, obviously, point number one is that we should not be sleeping with our students. It's becoming more and more common, which is a sad thing, abusing their authority and their power to put students in this position where, just like I said, she might have Stockholm, she didn't want him as a teacher, didn't want him to go away. Second, that we also learned, it was kind of confusing, is when in certain situations the teacher's held as an entity with the school and when they're held without an entity as a school. A lot of knowledge on what you could prove and what you can't prove, not only in the criminal law, but also goes in this, we're figuring out in civil law and laws of writing and things like that with companies and schools and businesses.